the sharpest person to be able to handle that.
Which administration texted war plans to their brother?
Joe Biden. No, but do we just keep lowering the bar because Trump is bad?
Trump lied to people. I think that's why we.
He won more votes. That is a fact.
I think he lied to his base. I think he told his base that they were going to, their overtime would not be taxed. That was a lie.
Actually, that's in the new tax bill. It's literally in the tax bill.
They had to fight to put that in. They had to fight to put that back in. He had every intention of taking away that.
That's not true. He ran on no tax on tips, and it's in the tax bill.
On The View, Alyssa Farah Griffin and Sunny Hostin didn't argue. They detonated. What started as a conversation turned into a no-holds-barred ideological knife fight that left the set in chaos. Elissa demanded truth. Sunny fought to protect the brand. Neither blinked. The masks slipped. The alliances cracked. And in seconds, the whole progressive unity fantasy went up in flames. This wasn't a debate. It was the woke machine eating itself. And the fallout? Oh, it's just getting started.
I actually think we have Trump
really?
Because the Trump administration, Trump lied to people. I think that's why we.
He won more votes. That is a fact.
I think he lied to his base. I think he told his base that they were going to, their overtime would not be taxed. That was a lie.
Actually, that's in the new tax bill. It's literally in the tax bill.
They had to fight to put that in. They had to fight to put that back in. He had every intention of taking away that.
That's not true. He ran on no tax on tips, and it's in the tax bill.
Yeah, but it wasn't in it originally. I also think
that
a lot of people are, and Swazi pointed it out that it wasn't in there. I think the other thing that people need to realize is that they were lied to. Federal workers that voted for him, farmers that voted for him, immigrants that voted for him, they were lied to. That is why we have Trump.
Sarah didn't just call out the chaos, she firebombed the whole narrative. With surgical precision, she torched the Democrats for engineering a crisis in plain sight, accusing them of bulldozing the truth to prop up a fantasy presidency. According to her, America wasn't misled, it was manipulated. Warnings were mocked, doubts were silenced, and a hollow image of Biden was shoved down the nation's throat. The whispers started quietly, from both sides of the aisle. But the left, they went full delusion mode, demanding loyalty to the script while Biden visibly unraveled on camera. Insiders begged us to ignore the obvious. Trust the brand, they said, even as reality fell apart. Behind the curtain, it wasn't just decline, it was collapse. The kind of unraveling that could have shattered the country from within if Trump hadn't stormed in and hijacked the moment. And just before we drop the real grenade, here's Sunny Hostin twisting herself into knots trying to defend the indefensible.
People are quoted in this book of saying they would be boxed out of meetings if they raise concerns, and there's very specific examples. George Clooney goes on the record to Jake Tapper and says he moved mountains. He flew in from Italy to do this record fundraiser for Joe Biden. Joe Biden didn't recognize George Clooney. One of the most recognizable, one of the most recognizable men on the planet. And now that's not a presidential duty. It's not the job. You don't have to recognize George Clooney. But does that give you confidence that in the middle of the night, if China's about to attack us, there's a war breaking out in Iran, that he is the sharpest person to be able to handle that?
Which administration texted war plans to their brother?
The Trump. But it's just like
Joe Biden.
No, but do we just keep lowering the bar because Trump is bad?
Sunny Hostin didn't clap back. She went nuclear. Instead of dialing things down, she turned the heat up to volcanic, turning a political dumpster fire into a full-blown meltdown. And let's not kid ourselves, even diehard liberals are wincing behind the scenes. Sunny doesn't just ruffle feathers, she tears the whole bird apart. No calls for change, no fresh vision, just blind rage and recycled talking points. While the DNC flounders, she's doubling down on the losing script, ignoring collapsing support and mocking fiscal reform like it's some fringe fantasy. The party's running on fumes. Voters are checked out. But Sunny, she's swinging like it's a grudge match and she's got nothing to lose. Her rants are loud, her message scattered, and her refusal to course correct is sinking what's left of the ship. And just when the chaos seems maxed out, Elissa charges in. No warnings, no filter, just pure political detonation. That's when the show stops being a debate and becomes a war zone.
77% of Americans in 2023 said Joe Biden was too old to run again. And they were told, sit down, shut up, he is the nominee. And then when it became untenable and he stepped aside, they anointed Kamala Harris. There was not a primary, there was not a democratic process. And then when she lost, they said, don't look backward, we're moving forward, we're not even going to talk about why we didn't listen to you. We had Joe Biden here last week. It was an honor to have him. I think he is a good man. I do not think he could have been president for 4 more years. The hardest job on the planet.
Can this guy be president?
He was elected. I didn't vote for it.
Real quickly, but he also, President Biden took responsibility at this table, which is something that I'm frustrated with the Democrats. He said,
he did take
this falls
responsibility.
on me. And I said that was the clearest answer of what people needed to hear.
Did you see it? That split second when Sunny Hostin started to crack. Right as Alyssa Farah Griffin went in for the jugular. This wasn't a debate, it was a precision strike. Alyssa didn't counter, she dismantled, then came the kill shot. She torched the DNC for its coronation of Kamala Harris. No competition, no questions asked. Sunny's defense? A weak, breathless, what's wrong with that? What's wrong? Everything? This is the same woman who shouts about democracy, now shrugging off backroom deals like it's business as usual. The hypocrisy wasn't just showing, it was screaming. Alyssa didn't come to play. She brought the receipts, the heat, and a wrecking ball aimed straight at Sunny's shaky narrative. She didn't just expose a flaw, she blew the lid off a party strategy built on denial. And the real punchline? Joy Bahar's face. That frozen, speechless stare as the room imploded in real time. That was the truth finally landing. Roll the tape. This isn't political commentary, it's a televised reckoning.
No, I don't. I think that I want to move on from why the Democratic Party lost, and I want to hear from the Democratic Party about how we are going to take our country back and what they are going to do to combat fascism and what they're going to do to stop the Medicaid cuts that are going on, to stop giving tax cuts to billionaires, to stop taking federal workers' pensions away, to stop taking federal jobs away, to stop taking education away, to stop attacking our institutions, to stopping, why is this Trump administration stopping medical research, cancer? I want to talk about why this administration is giving refugee status to South African white Afrikaners as opposed to Afghans and Ukrainians and people of color. That's what I want to talk about.
Who? Alyssa Farah Griffin didn't just enter, she detonated the studio on impact. No warm-up, no pleasantries. She came armed and ready to shatter every delusion in the room. One moment we're dissecting Biden's crumbling leadership, and the next, Joy Behar yanks the Trump lever like it's her last lifeline. Classic misdirection. Zero defense, zero facts, just flailing distractions and stale Trump takes. But let's get brutally honest. If the world were going up in flames, would anyone hand Biden the hose? Under his so-called leadership, the global order cracked wide open. Russia stormed Ukraine, Iran-backed militants unleashed terror in Israel, and China started taunting U.S. pilots in dangerous airspace standoffs. This wasn't bad luck. It was a collapse of deterrence. The bullies saw weakness and pounced. The American threat factor? Erased. Under Biden, we didn't project dominance, we broadcasted fragility. And while the left desperately clutches their favorite chant, "At least he's not Trump," Alyssa ripped that comfort blanket to shreds. She exposed the cowardice behind the spin, the hollow excuses, and forced the table to stare down the failures they refused to name. The energy shifted. The panic was real. And when the noise finally stopped, all that was left was stunned, suffocating silence.
The ship has sailed. It's out in the ocean somewhere with Biden.
We have Trump
it's over. Get over it.
No, we have Trump because you guys screwed this up. With all due respect.
Let's talk about the full-blown disaster that is Signalgate. Because it's not just bad, it's humiliating. And unlike the spin factory on the left, we're not here to slap a bow on it. It was a mess. A public-facing, credibility-torching mess that deserves every ounce of backlash. But here's where it goes off the rails. Somehow, this is Trump's fault now? Please. That's not a reach. That's Olympic-level contortion. The error came straight from Representative Mike Waltz. Not Trump, not Pete Hegseth. But that didn't stop Joy Behar from diving headfirst into delusion, screaming scandal like it was 1974 all over again. That's not journalism. That's desperation on full display. The left is hemorrhaging trust, and Joy's out here flailing through the same tired playbook: distract, distort, deflect. Why? Because deep down, they know what they won't say out loud. Joe Biden's decline isn't a partisan smear. It's a 5-alarm fire. Signalgate was a fumble, but compared to 4 years of cognitive freefall, geopolitical blunders, and a president who can't finish a sentence without veering off the rails, it's not even close. Joy knows it. We all see it. And just when you think the spin cycle can't get any more frantic, Sunny Hostin storms in to clean it up. What happens next? Alyssa lights the whole segment on fire. Buckle in, because this isn't damage control. It's detonation.
Do you think one thing that really irks me on the left, and I don't really have a lot of faith in the right, so you tend to criticize the people that you line up more, that you care more about, and that would be the Democrats for me. People lost trust in them because the voters were saying there was a concern. There were people across the board saying they had a concern. And the Democrats said, no, over here, look over here. They told the voters what to care about, and they did not listen when the voters said they cared. So these stories come out aren't about beating a dead horse. It's saying if they could have a fair conversation that we heard you, we saw it as they saw it, they'd be gaining some of the voters back to say, okay, we're not going to keep.
Yes. The tired old anthem. Trump lied to his voters. The left plays it on loop like it's some revelation. But here's the uncomfortable truth they choke on every time. Trump said he'd shake up the system, and he did. Borders tightened. Bureaucracy slashed. Global stance reasserted. Even his critics in the mainstream can't deny he delivered. But the left? They're stuck in denial mode, gaslighting anyone who dares to notice results. They scream smoke and mirrors, while their own party spirals into confusion, contradiction, and infighting. Case in point, Sunny Hostin's meltdown when Alyssa Farah Griffin fact-checked her on air. You saw it, the eye rolls, the condescension, the dismissive scoff like Alyssa was reading from a QAnon blog instead of citing cold, hard stats. That's the real issue. It's not about truth, it's about control. The left doesn't want dialogue, they want submission. And Sunny's smug shutdown wasn't just disrespectful, it was a glimpse into a mindset that punishes dissent and buries reality under performance. But here's the kicker. The charade didn't hold. Alyssa took that fire and walked it straight into CNN's house, torching Biden's latest interview with facts the White House hopes you missed. Let's tune in, because this fight just jumped networks.
Question, Alyssa, about that interview. I mean, what did you make of the fact that Jill Biden was there with him?
I thought it was very unhelpful. I asked the specific question about allegations of his cognitive decline, and he began to answer it, and then she jumped in for him. And I get it, as a spouse, you want to help your partner, but that was his moment to knock out of the park any fear that he has cognitive decline, and it played into basically the worst assumptions, that he can't finish sentences and she had to help him out.
Major salute to Alyssa Farah Griffin for not just standing her ground, but straight up incinerating Sunny Hostin in that broadcast battle royale. This wasn't courage for show. It was the kind of reality check the country desperately needed. Biden's mental unraveling isn't some backroom whisper anymore. It's loud, it's visible, and it's impossible to unsee. If you're still clinging to the fantasy that everything's fine, congratulations. You've either gone full ostrich or you're willfully blind. And just when the left thought it couldn't get worse, Jake Tapper of all people drops a grenade with his new book, blowing the Biden's in charge myth sky high. The big question now, who the hell's actually been pulling the strings these past 4 years? Because it clearly wasn't the guy mumbling through teleprompters. Gone is the moderate Democrat who preached unity. In his place, a hard left puppet, pushing identity theater and policy whiplash like someone swapped out the script. That wild 180? It's not evolution. It's a red siren screaming corruption, manipulation, or worse. Alyssa called it out without flinching. Sunny threw up her usual smoke bombs, vague deflections, smug eye rolls, the whole tired routine. But guess what? The voters aren't asleep anymore. The fog has lifted. The illusion is gone. And they're angry. That's the fire for today. And trust me, we're just getting started. The next political earthquake is already rumbling. Stay ready.